everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will be reviewing some dollar store polymer clay. So I went to the dollar store several months ago and I found this selection of polymer clay, and they have also like cutters, like cookie cutters, and then they have like tools and then texture mats. I only purchased the clay on this trip because I already have tools and cookie cutters and I don't need any more. So I decided to buy 3 of the packages. One has the primary colors in it, the other has black, gray, and white, and then the third one I got had this really pretty green, brown, and then white in it as well. I did not buy the other color situation because I thought the 3 was necessary, and the total, I don't have the receipt anymore, but the total is around $4 including tax, I would say, which is the equivalent of maybe 1.5 blocks of clay from a craft store. So each piece of clay or block of clay, however you want to call it, is all individually wrapped with some plastic, and it is a pain to open. And it's like, I don't know what they do to it, but it's like not like vacuum sealed, but it's like tightly packaged on there. So it took some finagling for me to get stuff open, and I had to do some of it off camera, but it's very well sealed. And I did find that it feels like clay. I don't know, I thought it would feel a little bit differently considering it's dollar store clay. And it has like a weird like plastic smell to it. I don't really go around sniffing clay, so it doesn't really bother me that much. And it's not like a strong pungent scent, so it shouldn't bother anybody if you guys have scent sensitivities. It's very easy to mix. It's easy to warm up and to use. However, there are inconsistencies between each of the colors. Like the red one was easy to touch, and then the blue one kind of crumbled a bit, and I found that same thing happened with the black color as well. So there are like texture inconsistencies with each of the colors, which I think is to honestly be expected because I've had the same thing happen with like Sculpting brand and like Emo and stuff. It also depends how long it's been sitting out for and like how long you've had it as well. So there's some gray area with that, but it's not inconsistent enough where I wouldn't use it, if that makes sense. It also stains, which is also to be expected with polymer clay. I found that the red and the blue stain, and then the black also kind of stains quite a bit, but it's nothing soap and water can't fix. I mixed up this purple color using the red and the blue, and I just wanted to see what like the colors look like mixed together, and to be honest, I don't really like this purple. It's too like dark for me, and it's like, I don't know, it's like muted, if that makes sense, and it's kind of dull in my opinion. So I decided to add some white to it to make it a bit lighter, like a lavender or like a pale purple, but I still don't really like it. I mean, it's better than the mixture before, but I'm not really into it personally. You know, the red and the blue, and then I probably would have added some white and some translucent to it to make it more like bright, but unfortunately the dollar store clay does not come in translucent, but I still feel like you can still mix and get what colors you want, but it may not be what you're like looking for if you're looking for something very specific, but it still works. One of the things that I wanted to create using the clay is a cupcake, and my main reason for this is that I wanted to test out like the shapeability of the clay and to see if it can hold its shape using a mold. So I just used my cupcake base mold from Miniature Sweet, and I did put the purple clay inside the mold after I used the brown clay for a chocolate cake, and I textured it with a toothbrush, and the texture worked very well on the cupcake part, and it held it very well. To make the frosting, I just rolled some clay through my pasta machine, and I used a cookie cutter and put it on top because I hate making frosting the classic way where you mix TLS and clay together. It's just too messy and I don't like it. So the clay held up very well in the pasta machine, and it held its shape when I did the cookie cutter. For the face, I used my dotting tool and I indented 2 dots and I filled it in with some dark purple clay that I mixed earlier. And I used the same clay to roll out a thin log for the smile, and I had success doing this with the clay and it wasn't that hard at all. I also put in an eye screw so I can make this a charm or a keychain, and I popped it out of the cupcake base mold and it held the shape of the mold very well. So the next item I will be creating is an elephant charm, and I decided to use this gray clay that came in one of the sets, and it was very tough to condition. It was very firm, which is good for what I'm doing, so it wasn't like too bad, but my fingers were cracking when I was conditioning it. Now I'm creating the elephant's body, and I do have an in-depth tutorial on my page, so you're more than welcome to check that out. But my main reason for wanting to create an elephant is because I wanted to feel how the clay acted if it's like actively being like, you know, sculpted with, if that makes sense. Because when I made the cupcake, it was more like it was in the mold and I wasn't like touching it all that much, and I wanted to see like the how it shaped up, and it works. It very much works. I also wanted to show that you can make things with one of the packages of clay, like the 3 colors, so you don't need to get all of the colors that exist, because I only use gray and I only use black for this charm. Like, you don't need to buy all of the sets of colors to create things. You can buy one and sculpt something with all of those colors. I also wanted to see how pigmented chalk pastels would be on the clay, so I just scraped off some pink chalk pastels and I put it on the elephant's face for blush, and it looks pretty good. The last thing I made for this video is this yellow star, and my main reason for making this was the same reason as I made the elephant, to test the shapeability, but also I thought this yellow color was very pretty and I wanted to make something with it, so I'm just creating this star. As I was shaping the star, I noticed that there were dust particles on the clay, and so I used some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip and I just wiped it all away, and it did that very well as well. So the clay didn't react negatively to rubbing alcohol. The only thing that I failed to mention earlier at the beginning is that there are no baking instructions on the clay, which is a downfall, because if someone wants to get into clay, Polymer clay specifically, they're not going to know how long to bake the clay for, or they may not know that it needs to be baked. So I feel like there should be baking instructions on the packaging. Online it says that polymer clay is typically baked at 275 degrees Fahrenheit or 135 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes. So on my oven it's kind of hard to tell, but I think it was either at 350 or in between 350 and 300. And I think I baked it for around like maybe 10 minutes, which I know I didn't say that, but I did let the oven preheat before I baked anything, which was good. And all of the stuff turned out all well and baked, and it felt very secure, so I'm not too worried. However, if you buy the clay and are worried about that, I would do a test piece before you commit to making some charms or jewelry or whatever you wish to make. Overall, I had a pleasant experience working with this clay, and I would recommend it to beginners who are looking into getting into this hobby without having to spend so much money on clay. The only downside is that there aren't very many colors, and if you run out of a specific color, you have to repurchase the whole packet and not just one color. As well as the baking instruction situation, experimenting wouldn't hurt. I just want people to be aware that you do have to bake it, and I do wish that it was on the package. Like I said earlier, there are inconsistencies with texture with each color, but that is to be expected with other brands, so I'm not too concerned about it. This is just a personal opinion, but I would be cautious about using this clay to create things to sell, just because I don't know the longevity of the product and if it is durable for like jewelry or keychains and stuff like that. But it's definitely fun for personal use. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye!